Hi there, welcome back to the 365 Challenge, 365 guitar lessons in 365 days. So we're going to keep a similar topic to the last few videos, but we're just going to apply it to something that isn't the blues. Don't really know what it's going to be yet, some sort of rocky type thing. It's the idea of visualising chords while you're playing lead guitar. Now, I tried to just talk about shapes before and avoid too much talk of theory. I'm going to try and do that again this time, but we just do need to talk about the chord numbers. So just a quick recap, I have talked about this in previous lessons. Let's say, for example, we're in the key of G. Key has 7 notes, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes, okay? And in the key of G, they're all natural notes except for the F sharp. So we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then you're back to G again. So 7 notes, each one of those will be the root note of a chord that's in the key of G. So we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, and F sharp half diminished, and back to G again. Now, if you were going to, for the sake of practicing improvising lead guitar over different chords in a key, if you were going to make a backing track, you'd probably want to start by making it quite simple. One of the things you can do to start off with is just make a backing track that only has one chord in it. You'd have to make it pretty. You'd have to make it interesting in other ways, other than having different chords. So it would probably need, you know, a bit of funky guitar, a bit of a funky bass line. Why not have a funky drum beat while you're at it as well? It's got to have a bit of a groove to it, otherwise it's going to get stale really quickly. So that would be the root chord of a key. So that's a good place to start. Let's assume you've done that already. So if you wanted to practice E minor, you could do a funky backing track in E minor. It has no other chords and you improvise over it using the E minor pentatonic scale and the E minor heptatonic scale. So that's the 5-note version and the 7-note version of the same scale, really. So let's assume you've already done that and you're ready to move on to 2 chords. You know, in real world situations you're going to have more than 2 chords to play over and find notes that fit well over those chords. But it's a good thing to start with 1 and then move on to 2 and then 3. Seems like the logical progression from that point. Now let's think about this. If we're going to do this in the key of G, so let's use chord 1. And imagine we were going to do one backing track that uses chord 1 and chord 2. So it's got G and A minor, and those are the only 2 chords. And then you do another backing track that has chord 1 and 3, so G and B minor. And you practice improvising over those 2 chords. And you can do 1 and 4, 1 and 5, 1 and 6. You could even do 1 and 7 if you felt that F sharp minor 7 half diminished. Is that the right name? F sharp minor 7 flat 5 or F sharp half diminished, that's what I meant. If you felt like that's the kind of chord you're going to play over often, you know, it tends to be in jazz more than anything else. Most rock and pop and blues, you just ignore it, sweep it under the carpet entirely. But if you're going to include that chord so that you've got 7 different chords that you're partnering up, there's 21 different partnerships. So, you know, I went through a few of them there, but then after you've used G and something, which gives you 6 different partnerships there, you could then choose A minor and B minor, and then A minor and C, A minor and D, A minor and E minor, A minor and F sharp half diminished. So that gives you another 5 possibilities, and if you keep going on and on and on, you've got 21 different possibilities. That is a lot of backing tracks to make, so it's easier if you have a looper so you can make a quick thing. Unless you want these to be more permanent, you want to practice them over and over again, then it's worth sitting there with Cubase or whatever digital audio workstation you use, and making lots of backing tracks that use these different chords, hopefully different rhythms, different tempos as well, different styles, try and keep it interesting. And you can keep them and practice them over and over again, that's not a bad idea. Right, so I'm going to make a quick loop of G and A minor, and then we'll talk about visualising the chords. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Not only is there 21 different partnerships or different pairs of chords you can make out of the 7 chords in a key, but also you've got 12 different keys to consider and 5 different positions on the neck to consider. So we'll talk more about the positions in a second. I'll just get this loop going. Okay, so I've got my loop running here. I've got G for 2 whole bars, 2, 3, 4, and then A minor for 2 whole bars. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be playing over. Let's just have a quick talk about visualising the chords G and A minor, but we've got to do this in 5 different places, okay? To stand a decent chance of being able to do this, it's a good idea if you've looked back through the previous lessons, look at the list on one-to-one-guitar-lessons.co.uk/365 and find the bar chord shapes C, A, G, E, D. Make sure you memorise them and practice them and understand them and know where the root notes are so that you can find these chords, because you've got to be able to find them first before you can visualise them while playing lead guitar over them. So let's just say we're up here at the 12th fret area, we're playing our Aeolian scale here, or the pentatonic version. Some of you will know that as pentatonic minor position 1. You've got to know how to visualise a G and an A minor chord right there underneath that scale. And actually it's pretty easy because we're at the 12th fret. It's going to be that chord and that chord, but dragged 12 frets higher. So here and here. So G-shaped bar chord and an A minor shaped bar chord. And those are the notes you try and land on during the improvisation. Okay, let's give that a try. This is G. A minor. So there you go. 2 nice simple chords, easy chord shapes to remember and visualise. And then it shouldn't prevent you in any way from playing whatever you want to play. It's not an idea of scrapping all those licks you've learned. Quite the contrary. It's to try and pick a note to sustain at the end of a lick, hopefully. So do whatever licks you want to do. You know, all of those notes from the scale, they're all in the right key. It's not going to sound bad. Go ahead and do the stuff you usually do, but then try and, when it comes to sustaining a note, sustain one that's in the chord that's playing right now. Okay, so that is enough to think about for this one lesson. In the next lesson, we'll talk about finding the same chords in a different place on the neck so that we can play in a different position. See you then.